Alright, so I'm back. I'm bored off my ass. And it's 10 o'clock. So I figured I'd do a versus series video for a change because I haven't done versus series in a couple months because I'm so busy with writing and all that. So in this versus series video is going to be Aragorn versus Anakin Skywalker because I am bored and the versus idea popped in my head when I was rewatching Lauder and also when I was talking to my friend Rumen on Facebook earlier today about characters and whatnot. So Aragorn, like the differences between both of them, they have about the same path and stuff, but they're very different in terms of not only appearance but also journeys and how they're presented. So we'll start with Aragorn because he's easy, and honestly, I like him more than Anakin right now because I'm anti-Star Wars. So for Aragorn, like he didn't even start out as Aragorn. Like he started out as Strider, and over the course of 3 films, you see him gradually grow into his character, which is really nice to see. It's so holy, it's so wholesome, it's so organic, it's so realistic, it's just really damn good, and there's like nothing wrong with it. Like the only things that really, like the only valuables that he has on him is the necklace Arwen gave him, the ring, and towards the end he gets a sword of Elendil. But throughout that whole transformation, he still wears the same clothes. They're still poor quality and whatnot, and he doesn't, get an upgrade until he becomes king of Gondor, lost king of Gondor, and all that. And I like that because most characters, when they get an upgrade, it's always it's either a haircut or a change of clothes or a change of attitude or whatever. The big thing is like they get a haircut, new clothes, new armor. Uh, yeah, that's about it. New clothes, new armor, and new weapons or whatever. And for Aragorn, like that didn't happen. Not really. He got new vestments, but they were, still poor quality. They weren't like hard. They weren't like, brand spanking new. They were, hand-me-downs from Rohan, and that was nice. And then he got an upgrade where he was wearing Gondor colors and whatnot, and Gondor vestments and whatnot. But for the most part, like he stayed within like his poor clothing quality. And I like that because it makes him more human versus being, some OP person. Whereas with Anakin, you watch him grow up and everything, and he, gets a haircut. Bullshit. He gets a fucking haircut. He changes clothes. He gets a new hand. He gets has his lightsaber. He goes dark, and like that's it. Like really, like damn. But like for like his story, his Anakin's journey, yeah, it's iconic, but it's so boring half the time. It's like, ugh. And then there's the 5 sides of him that I've gone in depth detail about in the 5 sides of Anakin. But you take into account his journey and how he went from light to dark and all this other shit in between. And then you compare it to Aragorn, and it's like Aragorn's journey is more relatable because he didn't really want the title. He stayed Strider for a long time. He didn't want to claim the title of being the Lost King of Gondor. He wanted to just be him, and he was dragged into it. And it wasn't until Return of the King in the very, basically, if you watch the extended edition, it's about, let me see, disc 2, that he, accepted who he was and all that. And it was just so honorable and it was worth the build up to see him from his, humble origins to him accepting his destiny in the very end. That was beautiful, and it was so rewarding and rich and just powerful and spellbinding. Whereas Anakin, it's you hear the story a million fucking times, I killed the women, the children, and the men too. And all the fucking memes that go with it. God damn. I don't know, it gets annoying after a while. And, you look at how, if you compare powers and stuff, sorry, my nose is being a dick. That's better. Ugh. You compare powers and stuff, Aragorn doesn't really have any powers except for the talent of tracking, and he's blessed with long life because he's a Dunedain ranger. And yeah, that's about it for the most part. But he's got the skills of being a tracker. Yeah, a tracker and slight immortality. Whereas he's got the Force. He can do anything in the Force basically, minus all the stronger traits. He doesn't have the ability to Force heal. He can produce Force lightning via Revenge of the Sith video game. I'm surprised they didn't add that into the movie though. That would have been really interesting. But oh well. What else was there? I mean, he's a gifted swordsman. So is Aragorn. Their stories are slightly similar to each other, but not fully. The only difference is that Aragorn's is a reversal minus dark side, whereas like I said, he rejected his destiny and then accepted it in the end. Versus Anakin, who did the same thing but tried to prevent it, and then his mind got wiped on Mortis and all that shit. And he fell in love with Padme, got her knocked up, had 2 brats, all that fun shit. Whereas with Aragorn, he has this long, what is it? Not long. That's not what I wanted to say. Oh, yes, I did. Long-standing love for Arwen. Arwen. One of the two. Fuck it. I can't pronounce it right. Arwen. Yeah, it's Arwen. Yeah, I don't remember. And, it culminates and builds, and it's, the reversal of it where, she rejects immortality in the Undying Lands to go back for him, which is pretty fucking impressive. That's pretty amazing. Whereas Padme, compare both of the couples, stayed with I was gonna say stay with politics to her death. Yeah, basically stay with her politics, but then she died giving birth and all that shit. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Because I listened to Queen Shadow, and I'm like, oh, she's still alive. I'm like, shit, that was episode 1. So yeah, like she was very stayed with politics, but tried to bring Anakin back, failed at that, got choked for it. It's a very abusive relationship. Like, damn. Ugh, that's horrible. That's such an abusive relationship. You brought him here to kill me. Choke the shit out of you, bitch. I'm like, I went into labor and I died of a broken heart, which is a real syndrome, broken-hearted syndrome. Yep. What else was there? So, I've compared, rough comparison of both of them. But like, who would win in a fight between the two of them? Like, who would win? Would it be Aragorn or would it be Anakin? Everyone's like, Anakin's gonna win because he got the forest. Okay. Let's do a real versus fight. Okay. So we have 2 different universes. We have Middle Earth and we have Star Wars. If you're going to do a versus match, you got to have handicaps. If Anakin comes to Middle Earth, would his force abilities be projected or, no, not projected? Would they be increased or would they be stunted? For me, I'd rather he be stunted and just have to rely on his actual, sword abilities, You have to rely on your fighting abilities versus powers and shit. Whereas, Aragorn, he's got the sword skills. He's a seasoned fighter. Loud ass truck. um, and, he's got the legendary sword of Elendil. But, would the sword hold up against the lightsaber? Well, going back to universes, if they cross over, would the sword be stronger and more durable, or would it, become brittle and fall apart? I don't know. I'd rather have it to where the sword is sturdy and holds up against a lightsaber. Because if you have it to where it's like, oh, Anakin's going to beat his ass in like 2 hits, like, that's horrible fucking thought process. Oh my god. Because you're going to have a real versus fight, it's got to be drawn out. You can't just have it like, dead. Like, no, that's dumb. That's cheating and shit. And, the other part is that, both their bodies, like, if Aragorn goes into the Star Wars universe, what's going to happen to his body chemistry as a result? Is he going to have enhanced tracking skills? Is he going to have full immortality? That kind of shit. You got to take that into effect. So, say that happens, say, Aragorn comes to Star Wars universe. He has full immortality, can't be killed. So that would give him a, high advantage against Anakin. But, which Anakin are we fighting? Are we fighting Revenge of the Sith Anakin? Or are we fighting Clone Wars Anakin? Or fighting 2003 Anakin? I'm going to say Anakin 08 and then Anakin 03. Let's have him fight Anakin as a kid. He'll cut that little bastard down. Although that'd be some cool shit, though. Aragorn comes to Star Wars universe, cuts down his mom because he doesn't like how she looks. He explodes into the dark side like that. You killed my mommy! Next time on Dragon Ball Z. Oh, God. That'd be the dumbest shit ever. But no, seriously. This is the one thing that I brought up a lot who's the damn thing? who would win on Twitter posts, because they do a lot of versus matches, and I always bring that up. I'm like, and I talked to one of my friends on Twitter, and he likes the way my brain thinks when it comes to a versus fight. There's got to be, pros and cons to the fight, advantages, disadvantages. So if you were going to have, a cross universe fight between Aragorn and Anakin, there's got to be some handicaps with the shit. So for Anakin, have it just be rely on his sword skill. So he doesn't have the force on his side. He's just, your basic swordsman. And because you want it to be a fair fight. And against Aragorn, have the sword be able to withstand the lightsaber. That way you have a decent fight and you can see who's gonna, fight, who's gonna win in a duel 1v1. Plus, the blade is made by elven hands. So, yeah, there's magic in that blade. So, you find out, it's like, would that magic break or would it stay strong? It's always a toss-up with these versus matches. Any person you pit against each other, anyone, whether it's a 1v1 or it's a group versus group, got to be cause and effect. Got to have, a handicap. Handicaps for all of them. It's a trip. But, who would actually stand out on top of that fight? That's the huge question. Like, who would win in that fight? Because they're both strong opponents. They're both talented fighters. They're both seasoned as hell. So I'll say, I guess Revenge of the Sith Anakin. So I would say, in that fight, probably Aragorn. Give or take, Aragorn. I'm anti-Star Wars, so I'm kind of biased, but either one could win the fight, but I'm rooting for Aragorn easily. Just because the way he came off and was presented was more organic over Anakin's introduction. But that's just me. I've been on an anti-Star Wars kick for a while because people on Twitter are fucking assholes. And they all act like a bunch of inbred, incest motherfuckers that need to go die and jump in the lake. Yeah. But, I don't know. I mean, if you put him on full power, it's like, Anakin's going to decimate his ass. But you never know. It's just things you got to take into account when it comes to a versus fight. Because I don't jump into a versus match and be like, oh yeah, that motherfucker's going to win because he's got the most powers. No, you have to look at their powers and break down what's good and what's bad, what gets stunted, what gets limited, what might get enhanced, so on and so forth. Dude, like, shit, it's Superman in a versus match is a whole goddamn, like, 2 or 3 hour debate because he has so many forms and so many powers. Oh my god. Whew. That boy, oh my god. I'm not even going to get into that because that's a whole nother set of videos to do. Holy shit. But yeah, for this versus, definitely give it to Aragorn easily. Just from how how organically humble he was brought up and showcased, and his reluctant rise to power and stuff. Like, that was the beauty of that. Like, his reluctance throughout until the very end when he, accepted his role and took it up. Like, damn, that was powerful. Versus Anakin, where he was basically, stuck to being a pod racer for so long. And hell, if he hadn't been picked up or anything, he would still be doing pod races and shit and fixing shit. So that's fun. But we all know the story. It's annoying as hell. And yes, I am a Star Wars fan, but for right now, I'm anti Star Wars because I'm allowed to be anti. I'm allowed to like other franchises. God given right as a fan. So, if you like this video, cool. If you didn't, I don't really give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. It's just my 2 cents and my opinion on a versus fight between Aragorn of Arathorn. Or, yeah, just whatever, fuck it. I can't remember everybody's fucking names because it's so much shit to remember. Between Aragorn and Anakin Skywalker. So, there you go. So, who knows? Oh my. I do like versus matches though. They're fun because there's a lot of big what ifs that come across them. Like, what if, someone had a full handicap and the other one didn't? Would they still find a way to beat them? Or, you know, what advantages would their body chemistry have crossing over into another universe? Or, perfect example. Take trying to use really OP. Star Killer. Okay. Star Killer versus Doom Guy. Okay. Throw them into a random universe. Trek. Throw them into Trek's universe. Throw them onto Romulus or something. What would happen between, what would happen to their body chemistries? What would happen with their powers? Would their weapons become brittle? Would they become stronger? Their armor, etc., etc. Like, I don't want to think about all that. It's too much work. It hurts my head. That's what makes a versus match fun, man. Always got to think about the details. You can just be like, oh, he's gonna beat his ass easily. Hands down, they're gonna win. I don't care. You always got to take a step back and look at it from an analytical perspective. And it's not just about like who's bigger and who's badder. It's about skill too. Like a lot of them might lack skills in one area but excel in the other. So, something to consider. But yeah, for this match, Aragorn. Sorry. Not sorry. So, yeah. Till next time. Like and subscribe for thoughts and prayers.